County EDC's 27th Annual Economic Summit, a long-standing tradition for the South County EDC. My name is Dookie Valderrama, Board Port Chairman and a council member of the South County EDC, and proud to be your co-host today. I am also proud that the Port chose to sponsor the summit. I am joined by Sally Preston, who is also the chair of the South County EDC. Go ahead, Sally.
Morning, everyone. It's my honor to stand here with Dookie and co-host this event. It's a really great event. The summit's made possible by the generosity of our sponsors, and I'd like to especially thank this morning's title sponsor, Tony McCune. He's a founding member of South County EDC, and he's been on the board for 28 years. We're very grateful for your vision, Tony. Where is he? Oh, hi, Tony. We're very grateful for your vision, involvement in South County, and making today possible. Could you all please join me in thanking Tony for being the title sponsor? Additionally, we want to express our appreciation to Vanessa and SDG&E for being today's platinum sponsor, and our gold sponsors, which include the Port of San Diego, thank you, Dookie, the County of San Diego, and the cities of San Diego and Chula Vista.
Our silver sponsors include the San Diego Padres, BAE Systems, Cox Communication, the San Diego County Regional Airport Authority, San Diego County Water Authority, Higgs, Fletcher, and Mack, the cities of National City and Coronado, and TruckNet LLC. And our awards are generously sponsored by U.S. Bank, Macmillan Companies, the City of Imperial Beach. Our bags were provided by Scripps Health.
To help us spread our word today about the great event that's happening here, our media partners are the Union Tribune, Filipino Express, KSDY Channel 50, XEWT Channel 12 Televisa, Uniradio, Star News, and Radio Latina 104.5 FM. We encourage you to share today's media event. Please post on your Facebook or any social media, and be looking for looking at the screen for our Twitter, so you'll know you can post to that also.
We have an exciting day planned for you. Later this morning, we will have our award winners announced. Additionally, we will hear from our elected officials. And there is always a lot of interest from our business community about the projects from our economic panel. And we are going to start the morning in a very unique way. I am very pleased to introduce our first speaker, Stu Hedley. He is a Pearl Harbor survivor and will share his firsthand account of that day with us. Stu's first assignment as a seaman was aboard the USS West Virginia, where he served in the 3rd Division. On the morning of December 7th, 1949, when the Japanese attacked, Seaman Hedley was in Turret 3 and was a gunner point on the right gun 6-inch battery. The West Virginia was badly damaged, and on December 8, 1941, Stu was transferred to the USS San Francisco. We continued to serve our country in the military. Stu served aboard several ships and in numerous battles. While in the service, he met his wife, Wanda, and they married in 1949. Stu continued in active duty until his retirement in 1960. However, he was not done with public service. Stu worked for the La Mesa Spring Valley School District until 1981. Stu has been very active in the Pearl Harbor survivors, including many of the offices. He was Veteran of the Year for 2005 and was Joint Veteran of the Year in 2001 for the Veterans Journal. On September 3rd, 2015, aboard the Midway, Stu received the American Patriot Award for his lifetime of service to the Navy and his San Diego community. EMC Hedley's award include the Good Conduct Medal, American Defense Service Medal, World War II, American Campaign Medal, Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal, European American Middle Eastern Campaign Medal, I'm running out of fingers, World War II Victory Medal, Navy Occupation Service Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Korean Service Medal, United Nations Korean Service Medal, and the Navy Presidential Unit Citation Ribbon. Today we are witnessing history through the eyes of Stu Hedley. Please join me in welcoming 95-year young Stu Hedley.
Thank you. Good morning. I would love all the high-tech high school kids to stand up, please. When I go out to high school, I tell our high school students, I'm going to give you an admonition. What's an admonition? Silence. This is a new word you can add to your vocabulary. It means warning. And my warning to you high school kids is stay in school. Don't quit under any conditions. And the reason I tell you that is technology is moving so fast, you're going to have a higher education to keep up. Now you're going to be surprised. I have no computer, no cell phone, no fax machine, no internet, no website. I'm 200 years behind time. But it doesn't bother me one bit. My computer is right up here. Okay, December 7th, a beautiful morning. I told Louisa I was going to give a weather report. The sun was shining at about 6 in the morning, beautiful day. I was getting ready to go on a picnic with my girlfriend and her mother. And in the process, I got up at 5 o'clock, took a shower, shaved, got dressed, and I was shining my roller skate shoes. I had white shoe skates, and I was putting new batteries underneath because I had port and starboard running lights on my skates. And I looked down, and my dress shoes were missing. So I asked one of the fellows in the compartment, did you see my shoes? Oh, yeah, Pete Hartley wore them last night. Well, he's a first-class boatswain mate, 32 years in the Navy. You don't question what he does. So I said, where is he? He's in after steering. That's 5 decks below, all the way in the stern of the ship. So off I went, and I went down there, and he's sound asleep, drunk. I took my shoes off from him, and I was walking out, and the quartermasters have their quarters right there. And a buddy of mine, Cherry, third-class quartermaster, said, Stu, how about having a cup of coffee? Well, coffee is number 1 in the Navy. So I said, sure. So we were sitting there sharing what we were going to do that day. It's about 5 minutes to 8. All of a sudden, I hear over our loudspeaker, away, fire and rescue party. That means for me to get to my locker, get my hat on my head, and fall into quarters for orders. Well, when I got to my locker and I opened it up, I got kicked right in the seat of the pants by a first-class boatmate, Hicks. Get to your battle station on the double. This is the real thing. Then general quarters went. Well, I grabbed my hat. I ran out on top side. Planes were diving from every direction. And I saw our pilot, Lieutenant Commander White, underneath the gun tub, firing away with his .45 at planes. Now, I'm a seaman, but I'm wondering, what kind of a war is this? And I dove under the tub. He said, son, where's your battle station? And I pointed up to turret 3. Get up there as fast as you can. As I was going up the ladder to get into the turret, here come a Japanese torpedo plane down our port side. I could see the pilot, the co-pilot, radioman laughing like everything. I got inside the turret. There was only one other man. There's supposed to be 12 of us to each gun. We have two 16-inch cannons separated by 4 inches of steel. The faceplate of the turret is 16-inch steel. The side plate is 8-inch. The overhead is 5. Well, we just got into our battle station. We could hear the machine gun bullets hitting our turret. We felt the thud of a torpedo. We lurched. And Crossan said, Stu, let's see what's going on. So we took the sight cap off the periscope. Now the periscope extends out beyond the turret, and you get a view of just about everything there is behind you. And just about that time, bam, there went the Arizona. And I thought a bomb went down the stack, but it didn't. An armor-piercing shell went through the starboard side of the forecastle into number 1 handling room. In each one of those handling rooms is 1,000 bags of black powder. That exploded. That set off turret 2. 1,177 of the finest men of the Navy went out into eternity. It was about 3 to 5 minutes later. Well, first of all, I saw about 32 bodies go flying through the atmosphere. And one of those bodies I met when I joined this organization in 1984, Jack McCarran. That man had blown from the starboard side across the ship and into burning oil. 62% of his body was burned. 2.5 years in the hospitals. Well, shortly after that, there was an explosion in our turret. And what happened was a high-level bomber dropped an armor-piercing shell. Now, when I met Fushida in 1972, he told me that they used armor-piercing shells because they had to get through 5 steel decks in order to get to our handling rooms. An amazing thing, because when I interviewed him, he said, Stuart, if your country doesn't learn from its mistakes, it's going to repeat them. I said, explain that. Tojo, Genda, myself, Admiral Yamamoto, and Admiral Nagamo all trained at Harvard University in the 1930s. Admiral Yamamoto, naval attaché, had access to all of our military armament. And they knew that they were not going to penetrate 5 steel decks with their conventional bombs. So they used 15-inch armor-piercing shells with fins welded on them so they would spiral. Well, the one that came down into our turret, on top of the left gun is a catapult. I called it a slingshot. And what it does, it shoots our planes into the air at 120 miles an hour. We had 2 planes on that catapult that morning. One is a scout observation. That is a biplane. The top wing is the gas tank. The other plane was the Admiral's plane, the Kingfish, a single wing. Well, that shell hit the wing, top wing of the scout observation. That gas exploded, burnt the plane to a crisp, split the catapult in half, came down through 5 inches of steel into the left gun. Now, I was in the right gun, and right down by my feet is a hatch. It's called a manhole cover. My footrest is in line with that because my job is gun pointer. I had to raise that gun up and down for the distance we're going to fire. We're not going to fire no 16-inch in Pearl Harbor. But nevertheless, that's my battle station, and that's where I was. When that explosion took place in the left gun, I didn't know it at the time, but 11 men were burned beyond recognition. When that shell came through the top of the turret, on top of these cannons is a cylinder just about the length of these 2 tables and about that circumference. They're filled with glycerin. When we fire that cannon, we want it to come back to ready load. We don't want it to oscillate. That's the dampening unit. Well, that shell split that casing, and that glycerin flash fired throughout the turret and burned those 11 men. The explosion blew the hatch right off. 4 steel dogs tore my footrest off, went under the elevating screw, tore Crossen's footrest off, and both of us had our legs back up under us. If our feet had been out on the platform, as they normally would, I would have no legs, and chances are I wouldn't be alive. At the same time, it picked both of us up and threw us 8 feet back into the elevating screw. When we picked ourselves up off the deck, Crossen said, "Stu, let's get out of here." Only he didn't say it quite that nice. We made a beeline up the primer ladder, and when I got to the primer deck, I had the JA phones on. I reached the end of the cord, and in my excitement, I grabbed the web belt, tore it in half, and threw it back in the pit. I spent 20 years trying to stretch one of those belts. Now, when I go out to the high schools, I ask the kids, how was I able to break that belt? And someone in the high school knows. How many know what happens when you're in a state of excitement? Adrenaline flows through your body from your ankles right on up, giving you a superhuman strength. Well, we got out of the turret. The ship was on about a 15 to 20 degree lift. We had already been hit by 6 torpedoes. Another thing that Fukushima did, the depth of the water in Pearl Harbor is about 35, 40 feet deep. A torpedo dropped from an airplane usually goes about 50 feet under, levels up, comes into its target. Well, what Fukushima did, he took the elevator and the rudder, which is steel, off the torpedo and had wooden ones mounted. That gave it buoyancy. But he also knew from the training he learned in the 30s that our battleships have an armor belt equivalent to the size guns. If you have 14-inch guns, you got a 14-inch armor belt. We had 16-inch guns, we got 16-inch armor belt. We got hit with 9 torpedoes. And when they brought that ship up, you could have drove a truck in the port side of our ship and turned it around and brought it back out. Now, while we were on this list, Crossen and I were watching the Oklahoma turn upside down. 12 minutes. That's like an eternity. During that time, my captain, Captain Benyon, came out of the conning tower, his battle station. That's 16-inch steel all the way around. He wanted to see what was going on. He walked around to the starboard side of the flying bridge, and an armor-piercing shell hit number 2 turret on the Tennessee, hit it on the corner. A piece of that shrapnel flew up and tore my captain's stomach completely out. How he got back to the port side is a miracle. However, the last words he ever uttered was, "Abandon ship. She is no longer any good to us." Dory Miller, and I'm ashamed to say this, but at this time, if you were black or Hispanic, you could not serve as a boatswain mate, a machinist mate, a pharmacist mate, none of those rates. You served as a mess attendant, mess cook, or an orderly. Dory Miller stood about 6'5", weighed about 298 pounds. He was a champion boxer. He was the captain's orderly. And when he tried to get Captain down to sick bay, Captain Benyon died in his arms. He was so mad, he grabbed a machine gun. Now, how many of you have seen the movie Pearl Harbor? Yeah. Well, 85 of us were advisors for that movie down at Rosarita Beach. When you see Bubba, who played the part of Dory Miller, shooting a machine gun, you see a twin-barrel 50 caliber with a magazine in the center. We did not have a machine gun like that. Dory picked up a single-barrel, belt-fed machine gun and started shooting at planes. And as far as we know, that man had never fired a gun in his life. I have been trying to get the Medal of Honor for his family ever since they gave him the Navy Cross. He rightfully deserved it, and I know because he was black, they gave him the Navy Cross. 12 other men received the Medal of Honor. John Finn was one of them. Well, while we were watching the Oklahoma capsize, Ensign Sears, a junior officer of our division, was yelling for us to get over on the Tennessee. What he wanted us to do was to straddle the hawsers, the lines, and jimmy across. 5 of our buddies got machine guns. So I told Crosland, we don't go over any lines. He says, "How are we going to get over there, Stu?" I said, "I don't know, but we'll find a way." And while we watched the Oklahoma capsize, I noticed our 5-inch 38 anti-aircraft guns that stuck out over the side. Now the barrel is about that big around. And so I said to Crosland, "Did you ever run down a railroad track?" He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Do you ever walk on a..." "Yeah, when I was a kid." I said, "You're going to do it today?" He says, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You see that gun barrel sticking out over the side of the ship?" "Yeah." I said, "We're going to go up in the Marine casemate on the starboard side, jump up on that gun barrel, run across and down on the Tennessee." Crosby says, "You go first." I did. But while our ship was on about a 15, 20-degree list, and I thought we were going to capsize, the water was just below my kneecaps where I was standing on the deck. What I didn't know was we had a young lieutenant with damage control going through the starboard side of the ship with 10 men, opening up all the sea valves to flood the compartments on the starboard side to counteract the torpedo flooding on the port. And our ship leveled up and went straight down in the mud. Thank you. Well, we got over on the Tennessee. Where do you think this idiot was going? Pavlov's Law, right up in turret 3. I was on the 3rd rung, and a Marine lifted me up with his foot. Haven't you had enough of those turrets? I said, well, what do you want us to do? Get over on the beach. I says, how? Swim, you idiot. And the fire was twice as high as this building. We had oil burning up from the Nevada, the Arizona, the West Virginia, the Oklahoma, and the California. 1 minute? Okay. That's what I like. So we jumped in, swam ashore, underwater. Now, I wasn't an underwater swimmer to begin with, but I sure swam that morning. And I got it to the beach. They took us over to the dispensary and put us to work with about 85 sailors that were burned, cut open, lacerations, and we went to work on them. I was asked to speak at UCSD, and they wanted me to speak to 85 general and admirals, all surgeons. And gal asked me to speak. I want you to tell them what your supplies were on December 7th. And I said, you mean that, Kathy? Yes. Well, they gave us a tube of ungantine ointment to put on the burns. They gave us a jar of sulfa drug to put into the wounds. They gave us cans of morphine to minister to those in dire pain and dying. Those 3 items saved lives that morning. Okay? And I am happy to be here.
As a person who served in the military and had my best friend killed in Vietnam, this man has been given a gift by somebody above. They couldn't kill him that day, and he's still here, and he's a tribute to the tough men in this world.
Stu, we're really honored that you were able to join us today. We really appreciate your coming to be with us. So can we give him another round of applause? He's a true American hero.